This recorded. All right. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Janelle Torres. I am the program director of the One Utah Service Fellowship. We will go through this notice of funding with a little bit of background, a little bit more about the program itself, and then we'll talk about some of the requirements in terms of partnership, and then a little bit about the potential application process. So the fellowship is a new state-supported program, which provides opportunities for young adults, so post-high school graduates who are 17 years and older, to participate in sustainable high-impact service to address the critical priorities and needs that we are seeing across the state. We have three main objectives. The first is to build and cultivate. We are really looking to help invest in a generation of civic-minded leaders who have the ability to bridge divides and solve problems through a mechanism of service, rather than just getting into the career path and going in for the dollar. We really want them to engage some additional abilities and awareness. Additionally, we look to promote and inspire. We want to raise awareness of service and volunteerism across the state, and identify quality opportunities with campuses of higher education, and encourage participation using an array of programmatic benefits. And then lastly, we are really looking to increase the impact, especially in supporting the top 4 areas of concern, from the slew of Utah colleges and universities strategic plans, looking to impact recruitment, student success and retention, generating educational experience as outside of the classroom, as well as engaging communities. This year, we have some priorities that we're looking into. We really are looking to partner with higher ed institutions and departments that are actively engaging in expanding opportunities for Utahns, providing services to underserved populations, especially those in rural areas, programs or departments that promote physical, mental, and behavioral health, and gaining access for local communities, supporting vulnerable families, so that children have better opportunities for success, as well as programs who are looking to provide additional benefits, to bolster recruitment and retention, including living allowance, transportation, etc. But really, we are looking to partner with programs that are focused on creating workforce pathways. So deliberate training, making sure that they have the right certifications, hiring preferences, support, etc. Overall, that is our some of our main goals. So when we're looking to talk about partnerships with higher education institutions, really what we are looking for is inviting higher ed institutions and their departments to apply for fellowship slots, so that they can ensure that their students have the opportunity to participate and receive the benefits of the program, while completing requirements for their degrees or certificate programs. Being able to directly recruit for slots for the fellowship means that departments and institutions have the ability to essentially add the benefits to an internship or to an externship or to practicum hours. And it allows them to make sure that their students are not getting in over their heads, or that they are really able to structure um, the opportunity that their students would be able to have by doing an internship, um, structured within how many hours, what sites they're going to be participating in, and things like that. So, in the past, we've worked with nursing, social work, and other health related departments. We've also worked with service learning classes, um, student service centers, on campus organizations, as well as nonprofit organizations. And then we also work with student teachers, special education professionals, those who are looking to tutor, things like that. So we do have a very strong history in our previous iterations before the fellowship, as well as this year during the first year of the fellowship. Um, so really, the question becomes, what does it look like? What does this service fellowship look like for college students? So each available opportunity is developed into what we call a term of service, which specifically outlines the program's requirements, prohibited activities, and the position description for each participating fellow or student. Each term of service consists of a maximum number of hours in professional development, which looks like the time that they're spending in class, additional trainings, meetings, conferences, and workshops, attending member gatherings, and reflecting on service. It also could be time spent meeting with an advisor and planning out career paths. Because we are really looking to make the fellowship a well-rounded, widespread program that does add some additional support to the career pipeline. Additionally, a term of service consists of a minimum number of direct service hours. Direct service includes activities that students are completing during their externships, clinicals, practicums, student teaching, etc. We are looking at um, adding to a member's developmental processes and what they're already doing. We really want them to add a level of reflection and encourage them to go deeper in and participation within their communities. We're not looking to add 100 more hours outside of school. We're not looking to distract them from their course load. We're looking to add a value. Additionally, a term of service consists of the completion of a volunteer mobilization project, which is just simply we want other people in the community to get to know what members are doing in their community, getting to teach them more about the services that they're providing, or outreach opportunities to ensure that their service goes beyond them, just what they're doing, that other people in the community are getting connected as well. And then attendance at a minimum of one fellowship event, which is just as much professional development as it is networking. Working the annual member gathering that we have in March, and end of the year reception that we have with the governor, because this is a governor's fellowship, and the multiple national days of service to help do some interacting, not only with their peers, but with other fellows from across the state, and so forth. Some additional examples of activities include in the education realm, mentoring and teaching elementary school students, providing educational enrichment programs, conducting community awareness programs, in capacity building or providing services for nonprofit organizations or with governmental agencies is developing partnerships with community groups and organizations, uh, developing organizational policies, assessing and revising programming, developing resources. And then in the healthcare field, it could look like implementing nutrition and physical activity programs, connecting families with adequate healthcare, actually assessing patients, doing physical assessments, administering medications, as well as developing care plans, concept plans, assessments, and other things. So we really do try to match the direct service that our fellows are doing with what their activities are that can be counted towards the fellowship, really helping them to focus on, again, the reflective piece of this, while ensuring that, potentially there is benefit and they see the benefit of working with underrepresented folks, underinsured folks, and things like that. The next question that does come up a lot is, what is the time commitment? If your students are going to be introduced to this opportunity, what does it look like for them to actually participate? And so we have 4 levels, 4 terms of service that are available to currently matriculated students: 100 hours, 300 hours, 450 hours, and 675 hours. There is a maximum number of professional development hours and a minimum number of direct service hours. And then here we have it broken down between approximately how many hours per week that would be over a 12 to 15 week semester, and then potentially 2 semesters instead. I will be sending this slideshow out again with a copy of the recording. So if you need to come back to this and you're interested in trying to figure out what might work for your students, I would suggest you come back to this table. We are required to maintain some specific eligibility requirements. So as enacted by Utah Code and AmeriCorps, fellows who participate in our program must serve all of their hours within the state of Utah. They must be at least 17 years old. They must have graduated from high school or have their GED. They must pass state and federal background checks that is paid for by the program, and they must be a U.S. citizen, national, or legal permanent resident. Unfortunately, at this time, international students are not to be included, or DACA recipients are currently not eligible for the program. And then secondarily, anyone who has been convicted of murder or any offenses requiring them to be on the National Sex Offender Registry is automatically ineligible, but convictions for any other offenses are at the discretion of the service site. We do recognize that in the cases of education and healthcare, background checks generally already have to be passed in order for students to be able to be accepted into their programs. But we are required to run a full 3-level background check to ensure that we are doing our due diligence as well. A little bit more about the students' benefits. So we do automatically, students who participate are eligible to receive the Eli Segal AmeriCorps Education Award, and it is a post-service benefit that can be received many times up to a cumulative maximum equivalent of 2 Pell Grants. This year, Pell Grants is just over 7,400. And so participating through this program, essentially up to about 14,000 is what a fellow could eventually anticipate if they were to re-enroll in multiple terms of service. This is a non-competitive program, so as long as a member fulfills the requirements of their agreed upon service term, all of these benefits are available to them. We also have a member assistance program, several member and alumni events throughout the year, a certificate of completion, and they would be eligible for letters of recommendation to add to their portfolios, government student loan payment and interest payments. And then we also have the ability to add a living allowance stipend as an optional benefit under this fellowship program. A little bit more about the living allowance stipend. At the discretion of the department or host site, a fellow's term of service may include a living allowance stipend that is paid out no less than once per month by the fellowship program. So what that means is the fellowship program covers 50% of the stipend, and then the partnering organization or institution would also contribute at a minimum of $5 per hour to the stipend as well. So ensuring that they would have some additional financial, a living allowance during their term of service, in addition to the education award that they receive after they've exited from the program. Specifically for the living allowance, there's several allowable funding sources, including the college or university's funding, USHE's Higher Education Student Success Endowment that matured last summer and became available, private donations, placement host site agencies, if they would like to add a living allowance for the participants. Federal work study can be used as a form of living allowance for the program, and then the fellowship has waivers available if organizations would like to utilize the living allowance. They are available on a first come, first served basis as funding allows. And so while we're having this conversation for the 25-26 year, I am not 100% sure about what funding will be available. Our goal would be, or is currently, as we are looking at private donations and some external funding, would be to cover a full living allowance for all of our future participants. That is our goal, but funding, we do not have those funding streams cemented just yet. So in taking a look at the viability of this program, we have been running national service programs in the state of Utah since 1994. So that's going on 31 years of national service. The universities that we've worked with in the past have accumulated more than 30 million across all of them. We are a really substantially provided for program, and we will continue. 68.5% of our fellows who complete their service re-enroll in more terms of service, just continuing to add to the benefit that they receive, and 81% of them use all or part, at least part of their education award to pay for their current degree. And so this is a very viable program. It has really helped benefit many students across the state for many years. So whether an education award is the decision, or education award and living allowance is the decision, there is really no way to go wrong. So I think really it comes down to whether or not the fellowship is a good fit for your students. Some questions that you may want to ask is if your school department or educational area addresses the needs related to healthcare, education, or capacity building with nonprofit and government agencies. Um, that's a pretty easy yes or no. If the opportunity will create a positive impact for the students, the school, and your community, and then do the requirements of the program align with educational, clinical, practical internships or externships hours of the students of that who would participate. Um, think those are the main questions before just taking into the next steps of, okay, well, if those are yes, if we can move forward, if we agree that this is a positive thing and for our students, where do we start? Well, the first is to define the terms of service opportunities for your potential students. The reason, going back to why an institution would want to request specific slots, is so that they can define and ensure that students will be able to complete a term of service, that they will get the benefits, and it kind of gives them a small chunk of the cheese and ensures that their students have this opportunity. Alternatively, students could try and become an individual placement, but that doesn't ensure that they will receive the opportunity, or that we will even have space for them to come and participate. The second thing would be to specify an institution and employee or employees to act as the contact or coordinator for the program. It is really important that if an organization, if an institution is looking to request slots, that they have someone who's able to help get the information and feed it back to the students. Although we enjoy having conversations and coming to introduce the program, being on the outside, a lot of students don't necessarily prick up their ears when we're having a conversation, when we're trying to introduce the program and the availability. But someone from the institution who says, we've provided this opportunity for you, here are the benefits, really does go a long way. 3, calculate the cost of the program. There is some costs associated that we'll talk about next. So we'll keep that in mind, and then determine the level of participation. If you're an institutional partnership and you want to do an educational award only program, that is a little bit different than being an institutional partnership with a living allowance program, etc. And then the final step would be to apply and complete that application process. A little bit more about some of the requirements. Again, I said earlier, the institution would need to determine a contact or a coordinator at the program, or at the institution. And so a little bit more about what the coordinator does. A coordinator plays a key role in ensuring the success of our fellows. Many of our coordinators take on the role of managing an on-campus program, in addition to existing responsibilities at their institution or within their department. But fellows are responsible for helping to recruit, coordinators are responsible for helping to recruit fellows, process enrollments, monitor them during their terms of service and answer questions, and then work with the state team to successfully exit fellows from the program so they can receive their education award. We're also looking for coordinators to initiate partnerships if they don't already have them. So for example, if you have a nursing student who completes clinical hours at several different placement sites, just ensuring that that partnership would approve of a fellow as opposed to just a nursing student, as there are some additional requirements. Coordinators are also responsible for ensuring compliance with the provisions of the Serve America Act of 2009, which include making sure that fellows are addressing themselves as a fellow, as opposed to just associating themselves with their program or something like that. If they're counting hours towards the fellowship, they need to be representing that they are counting hours towards the fellowship, and then uploading and maintaining any of the documents that are required by the Utah Commission on Service and Volunteerism and the fellowship itself. So a little bit higher level. The reason that I spoke about a coordinator is because that gets included into essentially the cost of the program. If an institution is looking to request placements and they want to really have a large success with the program, we do require a coordinator, either a coordinator who's paid by the institution. So then they would have some in-kind cost in relation to the program. So salaries and wages of the employee or employees, the office-based materials and supplies that is associated with the coordinator. Or especially for departments who are requesting less than 15 slots altogether, they can choose to pay a little bit higher amount on the cash side for the fellowship state team to coordinate the program instead of hiring or reassigning a staff member to fulfill those responsibilities. But in comparison, the in-kind cost, and then additionally the financial cost of either a living allowance stipend slot or an education award only slot, whereas the living allowance slot only requires the stipend match amount, so the minimum of 50% of the living allowance, or for an education award only slot, there's an administrative cost match. So the amount that you see on your screen is if in the case that the institution has an employee acting as a program coordinator, it does go up a bit if a department is looking to have slots, but also would like the fellowship to coordinate the program instead. Some other responsibilities of a department include the promotion of the fellowship and fellows activities and achievements. So we do our best to submit information to help promote in terms of images and like social media marketing, but also just when students are highlighted or when they have been nominated as a fellow of the year, things like that really should be promoted at the department level as well. Ensuring that participants are given their fellowship attire, participating in orientations, program management trainings, conference calls, and other training activities, maintaining records for those who participate in the fellowship, contacting and arranging appointments with sites and fellows during annual site visits, considering expansion and support of the program at the institution where appropriate, and then any other additional obligations of the memorandum of understanding. Some other responsibilities to keep in mind. To wrap up, our 25-26 application process is multi-step. The first is an intent to reply, just a simple email letting us know that you are interested, whether that includes asking for a time to talk more and trying to determine the best steps forward for the program, or really digging in to kind of design the program and plan out for the application. Then the application itself will give you the opportunity to present your proposed program, talking about the potential community impact and what the organizational capacity to meet the program's criteria is. We will then have a committee review with the state staff, and then request any clarifying details, as well as requesting some information for the staff members who will be acting as a coordinator for the campus. And then we will have the application response and official offer, with a timeline that looks a bit like this. So we're moving pretty quickly towards the notice of intent to apply. Again, I said it's just as simple as an email letting us know that you're interested and would like to move forward. The application due at the beginning of April. We'll have a review period with final decision letters to applicants, funding letters towards the end of May, in preparation for the new program year beginning in August. I know we only have a few, but if there are any questions, I am happy to answer them. My email and phone number are included here. And again, I will send out a copy of the presentation, as well as a guidebook for position description creation, that might help determine and wrap maybe your heads around planning what students could potentially do in participation with the fellowship program.